Ava Williams sat in the corner, clutching her belly. Each contraction felt sharper, heavier. She whispered to herself, "You're strong, baby. Just hold on." Her voice trembled, but her eyes stayed determined. Across the room, Nurse Linda tapped on her computer, snapping gum between her teeth. "Next," she said flatly, without even glancing up. Ava stood, slow and careful, one hand on her belly, the other gripping the chair for balance. "Please," she said softly. "My water might break any moment. I need a doctor." Linda finally looked up, her face bored, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "You need a doctor? Honey, everyone in here needs something. Take a seat. You'll be called when it's your turn." The words hit like ice. A man holding his injured arm frowned. A teenage girl whispered to her mother, "Why's she talking to her like that?" Ava swallowed hard, blinking back tears. "Ma'am, I've been waiting for 2 hours. Please." Linda stood up, sighing dramatically. "You don't get special treatment just because you're loud. Sit down before you cause a scene." The entire waiting room went silent. Ava's hand shook as she sat again. Her phone buzzed. "Marcus," she whispered, answering. "I'm on my way, baby. Just keep breathing. All right?" His voice was calm, deep, the kind that made people listen. She nodded through tears. "They're not helping me." "Then hold on. I'll handle it." As the line clicked off, thunder rolled outside. Nobody knew who Marcus Williams really was. To some, he was a successful businessman. To others, a name whispered in City Hall corridors, the man who got things done. But tonight, all he cared about was his wife. And in just a few minutes, Mercy General would learn that no one disrespects a Williams and walks away untouched. Ava's breathing grew faster. The contractions were coming in waves now, fierce and relentless. She tried to stay calm, but her hands trembled. "Please," she whispered again, standing from her seat. "Someone, help me. I'm in labor." A few people rose, concern spreading. A man near the vending machine called out, "Hey, nurse! She needs help." Nurse Linda finally turned around, rolling her eyes like it was an inconvenience. "Ma'am, I told you to sit down. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Ava's knees buckled as another pain ripped through her. She grabbed the counter to steady herself, her voice breaking. "Please, I think my baby's coming." Linda slammed her clipboard down and stormed around the desk. "You people never listen," she snapped, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "You want attention? You got it." Before anyone could react, her hand flew across Ava's face. The sound cracked through the ER like thunder. Gasps filled the room. A coffee cup hit the floor. Someone screamed. A little girl began to cry, clutching her mother's arm. Ava stumbled back, her hand on her cheek, eyes wide with shock. Tears filled her eyes, not from pain, but from disbelief. She whispered, You hit me?" Linda froze for half a second, realizing what she'd done. Then her face hardened. "You were hysterical. I was just protecting myself." "Protecting yourself?" shouted the man by the vending machine. "She's pregnant." Several people pulled out their phones, cameras flashing on. "We're recording this," someone said. Security rushed over. "What's going on here?" "She attacked me," Linda barked, pointing at Ava. "I just defended myself." The guard hesitated, uncertain who to believe. Ava's phone, lying on the chair, began to ring again. Loud, steady, demanding. One of the volunteers picked it up and handed it to her gently. "It's your husband," she said quietly. Ava pressed it to her ear, her voice shaking. "Marcus. She hit me." Silence. The automatic doors of Mercy General slid open with a hiss, letting in the storm. Marcus Williams stepped inside. Tall, sharp suit slightly damp from the rain, eyes cold as stone. Every step he took echoed through the waiting room. The security guard at the door straightened instantly. Something about Marcus made people quiet without a word. His presence filled the room like pressure before lightning. He scanned the crowd. When he saw Ava, his expression cracked, just for a moment. Her face was red where the slap landed. her hand resting protectively on her belly. He moved fast. "Baby, you okay?" His voice softened, low but firm. Ava's eyes filled with tears. "She hit me, Marcus. I was just asking for help." Marcus turned slowly. The nurse behind the counter, Linda, stiffened. She forced a smirk. "Sir, your wife was being aggressive. I had to defend myself." Marcus blinked once. His voice dropped. "You hit a pregnant woman, and that woman is my wife." The room went silent. Even the machines seemed to stop beeping. Linda crossed her arms. "Look, I don't care who she is. She was." Marcus stepped forward, calm but terrifying. "You don't care who she is? You should. Because she's the reason this hospital's getting a call from the city council in 10 minutes. A doctor rushed over, finally noticing the scene. "What's happening here?" Marcus turned to him. "You tell me, document. How's it possible a nurse assaults a patient in your ER while everyone watches?" The doctor's face went pale. "Linda, is this true?" Linda stammered. She. They're exaggerating." Phones were still recording. People whispered. One woman muttered, "That's her husband? Oh, she's in trouble." Marcus crouched beside Ava, brushing her tears away. "We're getting you taken care of right now," he said gently. Then he stood and looked at the doctor. "Find me your director. Now." The doctor nodded quickly and ran. Marcus turned back to Linda, eyes sharp as steel. The ER doors burst open again. This time not from the storm, but from panic. Dr. Harris, the hospital director, came rushing in, his white coat flapping behind him. He was pale, breathing fast. "Mr. Williams," he gasped. I came as soon as I was told." Marcus didn't even turn right away. He was kneeling beside Ava, helping her sip water. "She's been in labor for 2 hours," he said quietly. "No one helped her. Instead, she got slapped." The director froze, then slowly looked at Nurse Linda, who stood stiff as a board, her eyes darting between him and Marcus. "Tell me this isn't true," he whispered. Linda tried to laugh it off. "Sir," she was yelling, causing a scene. "I was just doing my job." "Your job?" Marcus finally rose to his full height. "You think humiliating a black woman in pain is part of your job description?" His tone was calm, but the weight in his voice made the entire room flinch. Dr. Harris turned red with anger. "Linda, you're suspended. Effective immediately." The crowd murmured. Someone clapped quietly. Phones kept recording. Linda stammered. "You can't just." "I can," Harris snapped. "And I will. Get out of my hospital before I call security myself." Linda grabbed her purse, glaring at Ava as she muttered, "This is ridiculous," and stormed out. Marcus exhaled slowly, his anger buried under control. "Now," he said, "my wife needs a delivery room and the best doctor in this building." "Yes, sir." Harris nodded quickly, motioning for a nurse. "Right this way, Mrs. Williams." Ava stood shakily, her hand still in Marcus's. She whispered, "You didn't have to do all that." He smiled faintly. "Baby, no one touches you. Not in my city." As she was wheeled toward the delivery room, Marcus turned back to Harris. "You'll hear from my office tomorrow. This hospital's about to learn what accountability feels like." Harris swallowed hard. "Understood." As the door closed behind them, whispers filled the ER. The sterile smell of the delivery room mixed with the sound of thunder rumbling outside. Ava lay on the bed, gripping the sheets as another contraction hit. Sweat rolled down her forehead, but this time, she wasn't alone. Marcus stood beside her, holding her hand tight. "It's okay, baby," he whispered. "I'm right here." The doctor and 2 nurses worked quickly, voices calm but urgent. "She's almost ready," one said. "We need to move fast." Ava nodded weakly, breathing through the pain. "Just don't leave me," she whispered. Marcus smiled softly. "Not a chance." Minutes passed like hours. The storm outside grew louder, rain pounding against the hospital windows. Ava screamed, the sound raw and powerful. Marcus's grip tightened. "Push, baby. You got this." You're the strongest woman I know. Then suddenly silence, followed by the soft, beautiful cry of a newborn baby. Ava's tears streamed down her face as relief flooded through her. The nurse lifted the tiny bundle and placed it in her arms. "Congratulations," she said gently. "It's a girl." Ava laughed through her tears. "A girl," she whispered. "She's perfect." Marcus looked down at his daughter, his tough exterior cracking completely. "Hey there, little queen," he said softly. "You have no idea how much power you hold already." The doctor smiled. "She's healthy, strong heartbeat. Both of you are doing great." But Marcus's eyes were distant for a moment. His calm voice carried steel underneath. "I want the footage from those security cameras tonight. Every second. I don't want any part of what happened to disappear." Dr. Harris, standing near the door, nodded nervously. "Of course, Mr. Williams. We'll cooperate fully." Ava looked up at her husband. "Marcus, please, don't let anger steal this moment." He bent down and kissed her forehead. "I'm not angry," he said quietly. "I'm making sure this never happens again, to you or any woman like you." Morning light broke through the storm clouds, painting the city gold. But for Mercy General Hospital, the day was anything but bright. The front page of the morning paper screamed, "Pregnant black woman assaulted by nurse, city powerhouse's wife involved in ER scandal." By the time the story hit social media, it was everywhere. Hashtags spread, videos from witnesses went viral, and comments flooded in. Some were furious, some heartbroken, but everyone wanted one thing: justice. Inside his penthouse office overlooking downtown Atlanta, Marcus Williams sat behind his desk, watching the footage again, that single, devastating slap replaying in slow motion. His jaw tightened, knuckles white against the desk. His assistant, Jordan, stepped forward carefully. "Sir, the media's going wild. Reporters are outside the hospital. The board wants to meet with you." Marcus didn't look away from the screen. "Good. Let them see what happens when someone abuses power." Jordan hesitated. "What do you want me to tell the mayor?" Marcus finally turned, his voice cool and steady. "Tell him I don't want an apology. I want reform. I want every patient, no matter their color, to be treated like they matter." Back at the hospital, Nurse Linda sat in a conference room, pale and trembling. Two lawyers flanked her, but even they looked nervous. Across the table, Dr. Harris stared her down. "You didn't just hit a patient," he said coldly. "You hit the wife of the man who funds half our community programs." Linda's voice cracked. I didn't know who she was." "That's the problem," Harris replied. "You shouldn't have to." Outside, protesters had gathered. Nurses, mothers, students, holding signs that read, "Respect every patient," and "Justice for Ava." Marcus stood quietly at the hospital entrance, watching. When reporters rushed toward him, shouting questions, he simply said, "We don't want revenge. We want change." And as he turned to walk inside, his presence commanded. A week later, Mercy General didn't look the same. Reporters still lingered outside, and every staff member walked with their head down, whispering about what had happened. The slap that once echoed inside those white walls had now shaken the entire city. Inside a quiet conference hall, a special hearing was underway. Marcus Williams sat beside Ava, her hand gently resting over his. Across the table sat the hospital board, lawyers, and Nurse Linda, pale, exhausted, eyes red from sleepless nights. The head of the board, a stern woman named Dr. Patel, cleared her throat. "Mr. Williams, Mrs. Williams, we want to sincerely apologize for the harm caused by our employee. This hospital takes full responsibility." Ava nodded slowly, her voice calm but firm. "I didn't come here for apologies. I came here for accountability. No woman should ever fear walking into a hospital when she's in pain." The room fell silent. Dr. Patel sighed. "Ms. Linda has been terminated. But we also know this goes deeper: bias, disrespect, lack of empathy. We're starting new training and reforms immediately." Marcus leaned forward, voice low and steady. I don't want this swept under a PR rug. I want funding for a new patient protection program, real people overseeing real care. I'll cover the first year's budget myself. Dr. Patel blinked. You'd fund it? Absolutely, Marcus said. My wife went through hell. No one else should. Linda, shaking, whispered, I never meant to hurt you. I just lost my temper. Ava looked at her, pain still in her eyes, but no hate. You didn't just hurt me. You showed every woman watching what's still broken. But maybe, if you truly regret it, use that to do better. Linda lowered her gaze, tears forming. I will. The cameras clicked, recording every moment. Marcus turned to the board. Let this city see that justice isn't about revenge. It's about rebuilding what's right. As the meeting adjourned, Ava leaned into Marcus's shoulder. 2 weeks later, the city's eyes turned toward one woman, Ava Williams. She stood behind a podium at Atlanta's Community Wellness Center. Cameras flashing, reporters waiting for her every word. The story of what happened at Mercy General had gone national. Talk shows debated it, politicians tweeted about it, and communities across the country demanded answers. But for Ava, this moment wasn't about fame, it was about change. She took a deep breath, her newborn daughter resting in a carrier beside the stage. Marcus stood in the crowd, quiet, proud, watching her with the same awe he'd felt the night she gave birth. Ava began, her voice calm but carrying the weight of every woman who'd ever been silenced. 2 weeks ago, I walked into a hospital looking for help, and instead, I was humiliated. Not because I did something wrong, but because someone saw my skin before they saw my pain. The room was silent, except for the faint clicks of cameras. But I'm not here to relive that moment, she continued. I'm here to make sure no woman, no mother, ever has to feel that powerless again. Behind her, a banner read, Project Dignity. Every voice matters. Ava gestured to it. With the help of my husband and community leaders, we're launching a new initiative to train hospital staff across the city in empathy, equality, and patient care, because compassion should never depend on color. Applause erupted, echoing through the hall. Reporters rushed forward. Mrs. Williams, what would you say to the nurse who hurt you? Ava paused, then said softly, I'd say I forgive her, not because she deserves it, but because my daughter deserves a mother who chose peace over bitterness. The crowd fell silent again, some wiping tears. Marcus's eyes glistened as he whispered under his breath, That's my queen. The next day, her speech trended nationwide. Hashtags changed from outrage to inspiration. People weren't just talking about injustice anymore. 3 months had passed since that stormy night at Mercy General. The city had moved on. The headlines had faded. But for Linda Parker, every day was a reminder of the moment she lost control and changed her life forever. She sat in a small community clinic on the city's south side, far from the bright lights of Mercy General. The walls were old, the chairs creaked, but here people smiled. They called her Miss Linda, not Nurse Parker. Ava Williams's story had haunted her, not because of the backlash, but because of the truth it exposed. She'd seen her own face on the news, twisted with anger and bias, and she hated what she saw. She started volunteering here as part of her probation, but slowly, it became something more. The clinic's director, a retired nurse named Ms. Johnson, had taken her under her wing. Redemption ain't about saying sorry, Ms. Johnson told her one day. It's about showing up different. Linda nodded, her voice quiet. I want to be better. I want to listen this time. That afternoon, a young black mother walked in, holding her baby. Nervous, tired, clearly struggling. For a second, Linda froze. The memory hit her hard. But then she smiled gently and said, Take a seat, sweetheart. You're safe here. The woman blinked, surprised. Thank you. As Linda helped her fill out forms, she felt something she hadn't in months. Peace. Maybe forgiveness wasn't something others had to give her. Maybe it was something she had to earn. Later that evening, she packed her things and found a letter waiting at the reception desk. It was from Ava Williams. Inside was a single line. I heard you're helping women now. That's how healing begins. Keep going. Linda pressed the note to her chest, tears falling quietly. For the first time since that night, she smiled. Because forgiveness, real forgiveness, doesn't erase the past. It gives you the courage to write a better ending. 6 months later, Mercy General Hospital was unrecognizable. The once cold waiting rooms now had murals painted by local artists. Signs in every hallway read, "Every life deserves dignity." The transformation wasn't just cosmetic, it was cultural. Mayor Marcus Williams stood at a podium in the hospital courtyard, cameras flashing all around him. Beside him, Ava Williams held their baby girl, who cooed softly as her father spoke. "This city learned something hard," Marcus said, his voice steady but emotional. "No one should ever feel small in a place meant to heal them. Not because of the color of their skin, their income, or their name." The crowd erupted in applause. Among them, quietly standing near the back, was Linda Parker. She had been invited by the mayor himself. Her hands trembled as she held the small letter Ava had sent her months ago. She never thought she'd see the day she could stand here without shame. After the speech, Ava noticed her and walked over. The two women locked eyes, and in that moment, the noise of the city faded away. "I see you've been doing the work," Ava said softly. Linda nodded, tears welling up. "I'll be doing it for the rest of my life." Ava smiled. "Then maybe that's enough." They shook hands. Two women on opposite sides of pain, now standing in the same light. Later that night, as the city skyline shimmered over the river, Marcus and Ava sat together on their balcony. "You think people can really change?" Ava asked. Marcus smiled faintly. "They can. One choice at a time." Down the street, Linda closed the clinic for the evening. She looked up at the stars, whispering, "Thank you, Lord, for second chances." The city that once felt divided now carried the quiet hum of hope, proof that sometimes justice doesn't roar. It whispers, and when it does, it changes everything.